Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Bolts. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
It looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
J2ICS up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the J2I, the Just Two Idiots Cup Series. This is Beaver's Great Mistake, a J2I sprint tail. We are in California for the Long Beach Street Circuit race, heading into race number 5 out of our 8-race schedule here tonight. Should be a good one, and looking forward to get it on going as qualifying begins underway. Up the race info for you as I remember to do that. We are bringing you the action in 1080p and 60 FPS, provided my Australian internet is able to do that for you. We are in Long Beach, as I said, and it is brought to you by Team Goon Squad Broadcasting with myself, Gareth McAllister, up here in the booth, bringing you the action as best as I can. Now we'll head on board to some of the drivers as we get this one underway. Qualifying has just begun. A lot of drivers right now out on track. As you can see, we have our usual format here tonight. 15 minutes of quali, 20 minutes of racing, followed by a 10-minute intermission, giving the drivers a chance to go to the toilet, have some food, giving us a bit of a break up here in the booth as well. And then a 40-minute follow-up with a top 8 reverse grid for the final race of the night. And it's going to be a fairly busy track at the moment. I believe we've got about 17, 18 vehicles, all LMP3 spec machines coming out here tonight. There we go. That looks a little bit cleaner. Have the cars still making their way around qualifying on the flying lap this time through. A lot of really strange undulations around the corners here at Long Beach, especially right there, as you saw. I believe that was not Black Bob Wallace. It was Nick Beaver actually hitting that outside wall. He's going to have to definitely take care of that. As we keep it going now, fastest drivers in practices for the week. We had Captain CK, who was the fastest driver on our very opening practice, as we had Captain CK up at the front with Biker Pilot taking home E1 in the second practice, and our third practice being taken home by Nick Beaver. So 3 different winners in the practice leading up to this event, which begs the question that it should lead to some good racing. You can see on the left side of your screen there, drivers who have managed to punch in a solid qualifying effort without retaining a 1x, as if you get an incident point, your lap does not count towards your position, with Simply Steve currently leading the way through the field. with the fastest time as well. Now, at the moment, we have our driver standings. We've got Beaver, Simply Steve, and Urko rounding out the top 3 spots. As well as, let me bring the standings up so I can look at them properly. Lucas Wallace and Seasman bringing up our 4th and 5th. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to get and figure out exactly everyone's nicknames, as they do run nicknames in this league, having a bit of fun with the Just Two Idiots Cup series, running a mixed schedule, I should say, as they change between sprint and endurance series races usually every week, so they run bi-weekly events for the individual series. Sprint series running these LMP3 machines, and our endurance series running 1.5 to 2 hour solo individual races, and they will be running, I believe, GTEs. As you can see, Simply Steve gets caught up in the outside wall and looked like lost a couple of parts as he pulls over to the side and may have to take a tow. Nick Beaver continues the charge at his discretion. Now he's currently at the front as well. Eat My Dust currently sitting in the 3rd position, with Urko not too far behind, and Biker Pilot bringing up in the top 5 positions out on track. Now, good to see a few new names and faces coming out to the Just Two Idiots Cup Series Sprint Series tonight. So that is always good to see. If you're considering joining, definitely take them up on it. The Just Two Idiots Cup Series, full of a great bunch of people, and always very, very nice to deal with. And we do have 48% fuel coming out here tonight, so our fuel window will be around the 23 to 27 minute mark, which means that you will not have to pit for the first race tonight, but you will come into the second longer of the 2. That will require a pit stop to make it to the end. See another car on the inside once again. I believe that's going to be Simply Steve again, just letting traffic go by as he's trying to keep himself out of harm's way, as he's currently on an outlap, not wanting to cause any extra attention to himself. See Urko not too far behind as well. He's still on a flying lap right now, as we've got 12 cars out there at the moment, and a few more waiting in the wings for the time being. Now, the team standings, we have Speed Squad up in front. That's going to consist of Simply Steve and Eat My Dust. Not too far behind them, though, Bong Life Motorsports sitting in the 2nd position with Urko and DC, and hot on their heels with less than 10 points separating Love Seat, which consists of Nick Beaver and Captain CK. Oh, there's a little bit of a spin. There goes Urko, having to check it back up. And thankfully no one was coming through, so plenty of open track for him to use. As Nodovan slides up into the top 5 with a 118 dead. So he is looking like he has picked up a lot of pace. You can see him squirrely on the exit of some of these corners, trying to keep the power down without letting the car run away from him. Now, this race here tonight, sponsored by Rising Peaks Coffee. Using their website, you can get fresh beans or grind directly to your door. Visit them at risingpeakscoffee.com with a code J2I for 15% off your order. So that is a cracking good deal, if I do say so myself. As we keep watching this qualifying session unfold. Now, we're only about halfway through, so we still got a little bit of qualifying to go. Might take a look if we can see a get a bit of a onboard so we can get the feel of just what it's like to ride around in one of these things. And we will jump on board with Nodovan as he tries to make another flying lap, moving even faster into the 3rd spot right now. See him cresting the curb on turn 1 around to the fountain. Bit of a tricky series of corners. Gets them done quite nicely though. Avoiding the inside hump. This is a very tricky turn. Car gets loose. Managing to keep it underneath him very, very cleanly though, must be said. This left-hander, I don't know about everyone else, but is the bane of my existence whenever I try and race this track, but he's done it very, very well. This right-hander always tricky to get right. Maybe a little bit of contact with the driver in front at the outside wall. A little puff of smoke. Run down a long back straight. A pretty heavy braking zone. Driver in front missed said braking zone. And a double left into the extremely tight hairpin at the very end of the lap. See pit entrance just there on the right as he goes through, makes his way towards the start-finish line once again. So that was Nodovan's lap, and it couldn't be more fortuitous than that. It is the leading lap so far, a 1:16.923. That is absolutely flying. And that was about as perfect timing as we could imagine, jumping on board with Nodovan at that time with 5 minutes left to go in our qualifying session. Now Long Beach, 2-mile track, pit speed 40 miles an hour. These drivers have a drive-through at 15x should they reach it, and every 8 incident points after that. Now, is that something that these drivers should be worried about? I would like to think not. However, Long Beach has proven time and time again that you can get your incident points up pretty quickly just by tapping that outside wall ever so slightly, trying to get as much time as possible out of your machine. As Nodovan ducks down into pit road. So we'll have a look at, let's go to Paperbag, who was just in front of Nodovan just then, as he makes his way around the circuit. So 18 drivers out on track. I believe all 18 of them have set a time so far. And that is going to do it for the field in terms of the amount of people that we are expecting to turn up and show up during this event. Don't forget to join us next week as we also head to Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That is going to be a doozy, and I can tell you right now, it's a lot of fun in these LMP3 machines. Carry a hell of a lot of speed through those corners on that track, and there goes a little bit of the wall as Paperbag sticks himself into it. Slap not going to count for him. As we jump a little bit further forward in perfect time to see Prince Adam get a little bit of wall and tag someone else coming through. Urko, I believe, just squeezed through as well. As he's also going to take a tow for good measure, just making sure that he didn't get involved in any type of contact. A quick dive into pit road by AJ there. Excuse me, AJ there. Where I was trying to say. Now, while we're watching qualifying about to be wrapped up, we'd like to thank you once again, as we always do here at Team Goon Squad. We thank every single person as much as possible for tuning up and cheering us on, whether it be the broadcaster, the league itself, the drivers, or myself, as Simply Steve doesn't do a very good job of showing off the driver's skill, but I'm sure he'll be back at it with no problem at all, sitting in the 4th position at the moment. So Captain CK doing a phenomenal job right now. One of our drivers that was shown as being in the top of his practice runs in practice number 1. And I believe that took place on, I believe it was Sunday. I'll double check that for you. Preparation for this race. It was Friday, excuse me. Friday was practice number 1. Practice number 2 was on Sunday. And our final practice was on Tuesday. So drivers making their way down pit road. You can see a lot of them sitting in there. Nick Beaver trying to see if he can maybe make one more run. It's at the very start of the lap though, so I'm not sure he's going to be able to finish it one off before the cut of the time. And definitely does not, as we get ready to roll through the grid. And we are lining up the drivers as we speak. This is going to be definitely a race to watch. I hope you're excited, because I know I am, as we roll through the grid. Nodovan with an absolutely phenomenal time while we were sitting on board, sitting in the top spot. Nick Beaver alongside in the 2nd position. He's going to be a little bit jealous of Nodovan leading him to the line in the later stages of the qualifying run. Captain CK sitting in the 3rd position. He's going to be very happy to sit right behind his teammate Nick Beaver, as they want to accumulate as many points as possible for Love Seat Racing, currently sitting in the 3rd position. Simply Steve in 4th, with AJ in the 5th position as well. Simply Steve, I should say, just before I run on, also California native, it says there, so fantastic job to Simply Steve. I'm sure he's feeling like it's a bit of a home race for him. We'll see if he can perform to his fullest. AJ in 5th, as we said. Urko in the 6th position. Eat My Dust in 7th. Black Bob Waller sitting in the 8th position. Biker Pilot in the 9th spot, with Just Dylan in our 10th position. John Downey sitting in 11th right now, with Paperbag in the 12th spot, as we cycle the grid on through. And in 13th, Garlic Dog, the ever-famous Garlic Dog, sitting in 13th. Bar South in 14th. Joe Albanese in the 15th position, with Prince Adam sitting in 16th. Book in 17th, wrapping it up just in front of newcomer to the series, Antonio Bianchi. So the race is getting prepared. We are very ready to get underway. I'm excited. I hope you are as well. Thank you very much for joining. And we will get this one dialed in very, very quickly. A short pace lap. We're starting on the backstretch. It's going to be a very big struggle for the field to fill out straight away as we get back to green. Back in the field, they're going to be coming around the hairpin right when it comes in. And there's the green flag. So yes, there's a lot of drivers at the back there not sorted themselves out. And there's a huge run coming from behind. Captain CK looks like he wants to take advantage. He's going to have to stay behind Nodovan for the moment, though. Beaver has the outside line, seems to be able to work pretty well. And he is through, so Nodovan has to file on back. There's a little bit of contact just behind. And I believe we heard someone go into the fence. That is Eat My Dust. And what happened there? Take a quick look at that one. Eat My Dust got through turn 1 cleanly. And then it looks like just got shunted a little bit from Urko behind. under the braking zone heading into the fountain corner. So that is very, very unfortunate there for Eat My Dust. Bianchi already showing out as well. Interesting to see that one as Nick Beaver makes his way around, and he will take over the top spot from Nodovan in lap 1. Nodovan, Simply Steve, Captain CK all chasing Beaver in this first pack. Urko leading from the 5th place back. As our closest battle right now, AJ hot on the heels of Urko. Not going to be able to make any kind of move heading into the first corner around Falcon. Oh, I almost said Falcon Bend. That's my Australianness coming in there. Fountain corner. As Urko keeps it together. For the moment, AJ applying a whole heap of pressure there. We're going to go further back in the pack as Eat My Dust trying to make his way back through. A little bit frustrated, and who can blame him? As it almost looked like he moved Book just a little bit to get him out of the way and make his way back up. So he is back up into the 15th position and making his way through the field. As he continues to do so, let's jump back up to the leaders, because Beaver is being chased very, very closely by Nodovan, continuing to stay on that back bumper. Not wanting to see Beaver get any kind of room, as we've seen so many times in the past. If Beaver gets into the rhythm he wants, he will fly away. Nodovan setting the fastest lap of the race, though. We know he has the pace here at Long Beach. And he is coming with a full head of steam. Lap 3 commences. And still fairly close between a lot of these drivers. None of them very far apart at all from one another. But the intervals, that'll give you a much better idea of where they are running close to each other. And Nodovan was thinking about a move into that very difficult right-hander. I'm almost glad he decided against it. That could have ended quite badly, not just for those two drivers, but for everyone else behind if they would have got together, as that is almost a pinching point for a lot of these cars. And what is this? Bar South with his teammate Paper Bag just in front. A little bit of a lock-up from Paper Bag, so Bar South catching up very, very quickly. These two are going to have to sort themselves out. Who's got the faster machine? And it looks like Paper Bag hits the wall again. Long Beach, not the easiest to make your way around. Simply Steve setting the fastest lap of the race now with a 1:17.47. About half a second slower than our fastest qualifying run. And we have a driver stopped, and I believe that might be just Dylan. Yes, as he spins himself all the way back around and gets it going again. We'll see what happened to him. Solo car, yeah, just gets way too much curbing on that turn 1 curb. And spins himself around without any issues, woes, or worries. So, great job from him keeping it out of danger. But very not happy to see himself falling down the standing. Speaking of falling down, Nodovan, that gap between him and Beaver is opening up, as he has now got pressure from Simply Steve in the 3rd position. These two have separated themselves from Captain CK by about a second, as Beaver clicks off the fastest lap of the race. Out front with no traffic to contend with. And it looks like we had Book involved in an incident. Book ended up jumping to pits. What happened to Book? Well, that LMP3 not handling the way he wanted. And it just looked like he carried a little bit too much speed into the fountain. If not, was already slightly damaged. And that machine has definitely seen better days. Takes it behind pit wall to try and prepare himself for the next race. As very wide coming out of that corner there was Nodovan. Getting very, very close to the outside wall. I'd be very careful of that, as he just taps the outside wall there coming out of the hairpin. These two teammates, Paper Bag and Bar South, have not left each other's sight. And there's an issue. Paper Bag, we saw him locking up the brakes so many times, and it looks like it was one too many, as he had own issue still locking up the brakes. That car is not going to be looking all that healthy right now, but it stays out of pit road. We'll take a look quickly once more what happened there. Carrying a bit too much speed in front of his teammate, and not enough downforce to help him round on that one. Ooh, AJ with a crash. Long Beach is absolutely taking it by storm. What has happened here? AJ running very, very well in this race. Oh, and once again, almost seeming to lose the back end in a lot of these machines. Thankfully, no one else got involved. They were very, very close to AJ for a little while there. Blackbelt Wallace being one of them. And I believe John Downey as well. Very, very close to hitting AJ as he made his little spin, but thankfully kept out of it. Got an interesting battle back here with Paper Bag missing the entire nose of his machine. Garlic Dog not too far behind him with Just Dylan as well. These three drivers not far from each other. As I'm really amazed, Paper Bag's going to keep staying out. He wants it all. And sometimes you just do not need a face, as is being proven time and time again as the laps continue to wind down here, as Paper Bag continues out the front of this pack in the 12th position. Oh, Garlic Dog has a little bit. Oh, and Paper Bag, just as we panned away, had a little bit of a lockup as well. Now, we're going to ride on board with Nodovan just once again, as he has provided that onboard camera for us, as he is trying to track down Nick Beaver up front. He has closed that gap by about 4/10 in the last couple of laps. So he is closing, and you can tell he can smell the exhaust fumes in front, as he is catching closer and closer to the rear of Beaver's machine. You get a sense of exactly just how fast these LMP3 machines are traveling through, at some points, the very narrow streets of California. And a bit of a lockup from Beaver right in front. There is Nodovan right on the back bumper. Gonna get the draft as well heading into turn one. We'll see if he can make the pass. Nodovan setting in an absolute perler. A 1:16.6. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough for him to be able to make that move. But he did get very, very close indeed. And not letting Beaver out of his sight. Oh, Beaver has a little bit of a bobble, and Nodovan is right alongside. Ooh, bit of a squeeze from Beaver there. Trying to stay up in front. An over-under move from Nodovan side by side again. And Beaver's going to have to relent and give that spot away. Nodovan up to the lead. Beaver's going to have to track him back down. Nick Terrell letting us know that he did miss this race, unfortunately, so he wasn't able to join us, as it was very, very close between Beaver and Nodovan once again. And wow, you could not get much closer than that without contact. Nodovan very happy to see it, Beaver happy not to give it. And these two drivers are going at it towards the front of the pack. Tube server joining us as well as Nick Terrell. Thank you very much for joining us in the spectator area, showing your love and support. Unless it's not love. Maybe hate and support. Maybe you got a rival. Maybe you don't want him to do so good. But all in good humor, I'm sure. As these two drivers continue to duke it out. We're going to go back just a little bit as Dylan is trying to make his way around Paper Bag now that he's made his way past Garlic Dog. And Paper Bag's still missing that frontal nose. And still trucking on regardless. As we pan back to the front of the field because Nodovan and Beaver are still very, very close together. Oh, Beaver gets a nicer corner through the hairpin. It is game on into turn one. Now, these cars don't exactly have enough engine performance to really gun it out of the corner. And that is being felt, I'm sure, by a lot of these drivers. None more so right now than Beaver, as it is providing a very, very difficult way to pass around here at Long Beach. Lots of slow, tight corners. As Wallace and Biker Pilot just set their fastest laps of the race in the 6th and 8th positions respectively. AJ, not to be outdone, also wants to set his fastest lap of the race with Bar South and Albanese as well. But this is certainly a battle. Nodovan and Beaver still so close together. But it looks like Nodovan's actually gaining just a little bit further ahead of Beaver right now. Just over 5 minutes to go in this race. They are absolutely pedal to the metal. As Beaver is not to be outdone by Nodovan in this one. But Nodovan does not want him to get it. Using all of the available racetrack as they run right up next to the wall. Putting on a real show as Prince Adam comes down pit road. Not sure what's happened there, as he is showing up as having been involved in some sort of incident. Take a look at what happened to Prince Adam. Coming into the difficult hairpin. And looks like it was all okay. Down pit road, deciding that that's what he wants to do. So definitely an interesting scenario, as sometimes drivers will decide to give it up. Other times they have some sort of hardware malfunction or technical glitch. Can be sometimes very difficult to work out. Prince Adam deciding that he is done for at least the first race of tonight's double race event. Donovan and Beaver getting very, very close to the walls. It's almost scary seeing how close they get. Ooh, Donovan actually tapping the outside wall there. Gonna go back to Dylan once more. Still chasing behind Paper Bag, but Garlic Dog has now found some rhythm and is right behind these two. And almost getting involved in a bit of a kerfuffle with the others. As they continue to make their way through the field, through the track, I should say. I think Dylan is starting to get a little bit annoyed at Paper Bag sitting right in front. Not many passing opportunities and no frontal aero at all on Paper Bag's machine, which just goes to show how well he is doing a job of defending with a little bit of a loose rear end. And Dylan just doesn't have enough. Amazing performance by Paper Bag, continuing to hold his own, even without a nose. Oh, and I may have spoken too soon, as carrying a little bit too much speed, it looked like, led to more damage. Paper Bag still somehow holding off these two drivers as they were looking for a way around, but checking up not to get involved in an incident. And the leaders are coming up on this pack as well. I'm sure Dylan is trying desperately to make his way around. He's going to want to make potentially a lunge here into turn 1. 2 minutes left to go. Now remember, we do invert the top 8 into our next event, as well as a nice big change of scenery. Is what is happening is, I say scenery, I mean time zone and temperature. Not time zone, times and temperature. As I'm losing my voice up here in the booth, as we are currently sitting at a nice sunny morning, and we will be heading into just before sunset for the next race, leading to potentially some spectacular shots from the broadcast booth. As Garlic Dog gets a really nice run on Dylan right there coming out of that corner. Gonna make the lunge. Will he be able to make it stick? No, decides to back out of it. Dylan carries a lot more speed. And still these drivers trying desperately to get around Paper Bag. Here come the leaders. Donovan and Beaver still having their own battle. What is going to happen? Long Beach so hard to pass. It is going to be the white flag lap for Donovan and Beaver. Beaver firing back with the fastest lap of the race, a 16.2. And coming up against lap traffic, this is not going to be what these drivers want to see. Garlic Dog has a little bit of a lockup. He's okay, he keeps going. The 3 and the 2 pack become a 5 single solid pack together. Garlic Dog's still in front of the leaders. He gets scared, he gets spooked. Goes into the barricade. Donovan taking no prisoners. No contact between the two drivers, but Garlic Dog unable to hold it down. And who can blame him when you've got these two fighting it out for the lead right in front of you? Or right behind, I should say. Your mirror is full of them, and now they're going to be heading down the back straight. Very long into a heavy braking zone right behind 2 lap down vehicles. What's going to happen? Oh, Dylan almost gets in the back bumper. Now they're side by side. Beaver is looking to take the inside line onto the next 2 left-handers and does so. Going to be checked up behind cars, though. Donovan not able to do anything as Dylan gets way wide to let the front drivers through, and it looks like Beaver's going to be able to take the checkered flag. Unbelievable racing to end this one off. that was a race, if I do say so myself. So, Beaver, Nodovan putting on a spectacular show. Simply Steve, a couple seconds back in the third position. Captain CK, Urko in fourth and fifth with Wallace, Downey, Biker Pilot, AJ, and Bar South making up your top 10 positions. As Bar South just now makes his way without a wing. So the two teammates, Bar South and Paper Bag, one of them missing the rear and one of them missing the front. Put them together and you got a very interesting race team, I'll tell you that much. They might get a scolding from their crew chief when they head back to pits and team owners. But that's... At least they got them across the line. That is the main thing. Great drive. All right, we have the two drivers for the waiting room in the interview already ready. So that is fantastic as we will pull Nodovan, who came in second place. Nodovan, that was an amazing race and unfortunately just didn't seem to go your way when traffic was concerned right at the end there.
Yeah, I saw it and I'm like, oh, that's gonna bite me in the butt, and it did.
Yeah, I've got to ask because that was absolutely incredible. But you were obviously trying to keep Beaver as behind you as possible, and you guys were fighting tooth and nail for positions, but also lap times, and it was just an amazing race to watch. But then you must have seen that lap traffic and gone, oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly. I kind of stopped pushing as hard because I knew I would hit them, and as soon as you hit them, it's like I tried to back off just a little bit, hoping I wouldn't catch them, but we caught them just at the end. So
Yeah, very unfortunate, but Nodovan, you had a lot of pace, so we're looking forward to seeing what you can do here in this longer race coming up. What do you expect, or what are we thinking to expect from you as you're going to struggle to make your way through some lap traffic on the way through to the final top spot, if you can make it there again?
yeah, it's going to be very hard to get through all the cars ahead of you without obviously crashing, and just because I started at the front, I now start at eighth. So now you're going to have to navigate all those guys, and if they crash, you may crash with them. So it's going to be a challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. All right, Nodovan, we will let you go, but any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to shout out just briefly while we have you before the next race in case we don't get to see you again?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to you because you definitely give me something to look after I finish racing.
All right. Well, hopefully I can do as good a job as you and everyone else expects from me. I'll try my best. All right, Nodovan. Been great talking to you. I'll talk to you again later.
Yeah, see.
All right, that was Nodovan bringing it home in second position. Now, we do have Beaver with us as well, who came in first. Now, Beaver, I just want to bring you up here right quickly because I want to talk about what was going on at the end of that race.
Yeah, that turned out to be a pretty cool outcome, didn't it?
That was an amazing race. I mean, were you seriously just going to use, I can imagine what was going through your head was, oh, I'm just going to absolutely use the lap down cars as a pick and take over in the hot dog suit.
Oh man, I wish I had that on tonight. I don't, but yeah, I know that as the leader coming up on lap traffic with pressure on behind, that's a position I'd rather not be in. You know, if I'm given the option, last lap, second place with lap traffic head, I'll take that because you get to react based on what the leader does. And the lap traffic's just going to be there, especially when they're racing each other, right? They're not going to let up. So I have to commend Nodovan for racing so respectfully. He had an awesome qualifying starting on the pole. We went side by side through turn one. Clean pass somewhere in the middle of the race, and then at the end there. So huge props to him. That was a lot of fun. I don't think I've ever really raced side by side with him, so that was was a fantastic fantastic battle throughout the whole race with him.
Yeah, it really was. It looked absolutely phenomenal. We loved watching you guys change positions all the way through the race. It was pretty entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. What's your expectations coming into the upcoming race, as it's going to be a longer format with a pit stop, also later in the day, and having to weave through more traffic? What are your thoughts heading into that?
Yeah, that's going to be the tough part. Starting 8th. Yeah, so there I really want to bring it home. That's going to be my goal, cuz Long Beach is hard, but then this car this car makes it like twice as hard. It this car just does not like Long Beach. So to bring it home would be nice. A top 3, that would be probably the goal, but I don't want to ruin anyone's night. I'm happy that anyone showed up at all. Unfortunately, I'm the poor sap that chose this track, um, and I didn't realize how bad it would be. So everyone probably hates me. So I'm going to race them with that extra respect to earn it back a little bit. Yeah. Taking it home. That's all I want to do. Just bring it home tonight.
All right, sounds good. Well, I mean, I will say that calling it the Beaver's Great Mistake is probably the best name for a track, well, for Long Beach I could ever think of as a sponsorship.
Yeah. I'm just trying to own up that I did not do well in my track choice. I thought it would be fun, but it clearly is not as fun as I'd hope it would be. But I mean, the racing was surprisingly good. I don't know what happened further in the field, but my experience was at least positive in this first race. So I'm hoping to carry that forward into the next one.
All right, sounds good. Now, Nick, would you like to give it any shout outs or anything like that before you go? Shout outs for friends, family, sponsors, anything quick, smart you got going on in case we don't
Yeah,
get to talk
yeah.
to you again?
Right. Yeah, just shout out to Nodovan again for having an awesome battle, and then good job, Steve, wrapping up the podium, and then my teammate Captain CK for getting 4th. It's first race at least is a good points for Team Love Seat. So go us, and thank you for putting on the broadcast, Gareth. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. All right, have a good one, and we will talk to you potentially later.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, that was Beaver bringing it home in the top spot. Now we do have, I believe, Simply Steve up here as well. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty well. Glad to be up here.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. Now, sorry we didn't bring you in first, even though you finished third, which would have been the right way to do things. Right as we were trying to pick people out, that's when you joined the waiting room. So apologies for that. But how'd that race go from your perspective, watching the other two having that battle in front of you, and probably, I'm assuming, hoping that something happens between the two and you can sneak on by?
Yeah, that was exactly my strategy. Was you know, stay in touch, keep the tires together as best I can, and kind of see what unfolded because they seemed very close on pace. So it was just kind of stay in touch, and it helped me keep everyone else behind, keep it in their draft. So
Yeah, it definitely seemed like this is a very tough track. Now, I got to ask you, because it seemed like the other two drivers were really getting very close to that wall. Was it a bit of just wanted to maybe stay behind them, take a little bit of pace off, and just make sure that you didn't get any extra 1Xs that you didn't need, or potentially a part falling off your machine? Or, like, do you have something in the bank, is I guess what I'm asking? Or were you pushing as flat out as you could, and those two just seemed to have the, I guess, the draft between the two of them, and I don't know where I'm going with this, to be honest with you. But yeah,
no, I hear you. I hear you.
yeah,
I'm honestly a little under the weather today, so I'm
okay.
just trying to keep it together best I can. I think I might have like a little bit more in the tank, but pushing here, it's like you push too much and you get damage, and it's a little tough, especially in the first race because it's shorter. You don't get that pit stop, so with the feature, you can kind of push a little bit harder, but the tires will go. So I might have a little bit left, but honestly, I'm just happy to be here.
I tell you what, it was a really good race for you, as well as everyone else in the field did a great job. Now, I'm just going to ask you this real quick. Is being clean more important than being fast here at Long Beach? What are your What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't finish the race, I mean, it all matters for naught. So, yeah, I think keeping it clean is gonna be, especially in the future. Yeah, I think being clean over fast is the way to go. But that's me.
All right, Steve. Well, before we let you go, just a quick terms of congratulations from us, but also anyone you'd like to shout out, friends, family, sponsors. The floor's yours for the next about half a minute before the next race begins.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to my teammate Lucas. Shout out to any friends and family tuning in. And shout out to Erko. You know, always be in the chat, having a good time. So.
All right, sounds good. Well, we will see you later. Have a very good next race, and yeah, very well, mate. Might see you right in this very booth after the next race.
Yeah, hope to be back up here.
All right, sounds good. See you then.
See ya.
All right, that was Simply Steve bringing it home in the third position. So we will probably move him because he's moved himself. Thank God for that. Because I put him in back in the waiting room, and I was going to put him in Long Life Motorsport, which is with his other friends Urko and Eat My Dust. We're going to get back to you in just a brief amount of time because there's about 10 seconds left before the big event of the night, and we're very much looking forward to it. So we'll see you, well, I guess now. As we go through our interviews a little bit longer, probably going to have to shorten them up as I get more used to talking to the guys here at the Just Two Idiots Cup Series, having them take a little bit more of a break as well if they would like and or require one. But we run through the grid once more as we have inverted the top 8 from our last race. So Biker Pilot will be starting on pole for this event with John Downey in the second position. Black Bob Wallace in third with Urko in the position. Captain CK in fifth with Simply Steve in sixth. Nodovan in 7th position, and our winner of the first race of the night, Nick Beaver, with Love Seat Racing in the 8th position. AJ starting in the 9th spot with Bar South. The 10th spot, Bar South and Paper Bag in 11th. Both the two drivers and teammates got both of their cars fixed up and working well this time by. We'll see what they can do with a full body on the machines this time, with just Dylan in the 12th position. Rounding it on back, Eat My Dust in 13th with Joe Albanese in 14th, Garlic Dog in 15th, Prince Adam in the 16th spot with Book in 17th, and Antonio Bianchi in the 18th position. Now, Book and Antonio Bianchi are showing up as not starting this event. So those two drivers have decided to park it for the evening. We get ready to rock and roll with Biker Pilot up front this time. Everyone checks up into the Long Beach hairpin.
Green flag, green flag.
And the green flag is out. This is a very different start to the one we saw last time by. So Biker Pilot going to start us off strong. All the way back to Nodovan. There's a bit of a gap between him and Nick Beaver. So Beaver's going to want to close that up very quickly. And Biker Pilot straight off the lead is going to absolutely have a fumble. And there's a bit more from Captain CK, I believe, had his rear wing knocked out as well. As we go back up to Captain CK. The iRacing gods may have been very generous to him, as it looks like that car is all well and intact. But for a moment, I could have sworn that that machine had no rear wing after getting a little bit of a love tap from Simply Steve behind, while all the drivers were checking up for that spin from Biker Pilot, who has now taken a tow to pit road. John Downey and Black Bob Wallace, the two teammates out in front, I should say. And they are doing a great job leading the charge. And for Zero Forks Given, I've just had a look as their team name. Captain CK down pit road. Obviously not happy with the way that car's handling after he did get a little bit of an incident. As I said, while they were all checking up, John Downey gets very, very close to that outside wall, wanting to put as much distance between him and the rest of the field. Urko right in front of Simply Steve. Captain CK trying to make a move. Excuse me, that was Nodovan trying to make a move. Not sure how I got those two confused. But Nodovan not able to make it done. Still side by side though, that's going to compromise Steve's entry. And I thought that might happen. A very, very difficult corner to take any other sort of line than the racing one. And Simply Steve, unfortunately, collecting the outside barricade, and he's going to lose all 3 spots to Nodovan, Nick Beaver, and AJ, bringing him from the 4th position down to 7th for the moment. This is our long race here tonight, 40 minutes, 1 stop required. Simply Steve did let us know that he's not feeling incredibly well. There's a bit of sickness that's been finding its way around about the world, I reckon, lately. As we see a little bit of puffs of smoke, so I wonder if the cars just in front have hit that outside wall. It looks like John Downey is completely unharmed. Black Bob Wallace almost being the Sergio Perez right now, the Minister of Defense, keeping everyone at bay as his teammate makes his way through. And doing a great job of it, has to be said. Now, certainly not slouching either, as he's actually slightly catching up to his teammate, Downey. And there's a little bit more of an issue as AJ clipped that outside wall just then. Simply Steve's going to be very happy to see that. Bit of redemption from Simply Steve as he makes his way back up one of the places he lost on the lap previous. Now once again, the Just 2 Idiots Cup Series Sprint Series, sponsored by Rising Peaks Coffee. Using their website, you can get fresh beans or grind directly to your door. Visit them at risingpeakscoffee.com using the code J2I for 15% off your order. Rising Peaks Coffee, I'm sure, providing the fuel for drivers like John Downey to be able to stay alert on track and keep the car underneath him while he is fighting to stay out in front. Black Bob Wallace, his teammates, still doing a great job keeping everyone behind. Captain CK just set the fastest lap of the race in the 12th position after he came down pit road earlier. So a lot of these drivers deciding to stay in this very tight pack. Now they are going to have to come down pit road after around about 23 to 27 minutes. As Downey, it looks like, is losing some pace. Flipping the wall a couple more times than he wants to. Black Bob Wallace has been closing the gap as he is continuously getting chased by all of these machines behind. Look at that huge pack. Tailing all the way from position 2, with Wallace down to about 8th position with Eat My Dust. Almost said Eat My Dust once again. Giving the old James East special, and Urko a little bit of a loose back end, but checks it up very, very quickly and very nicely. Oh no, and John Downey's hit the inside wall one too many times. And that is brutal, so he's going to be falling back into this pack. Black Bob Wallace takes over the lead with Urko Downey's still hanging in there in the top 3 for now. Nodovan is right behind with Nick Beaver. The race leaders from last race, and there may be a change for the leaders. Urko and Wallace are side by side. Urko with the inside move to Wallace's outside drive. And it looks like they're going to stay that way, which is going to give Wallace the inside heading into turn 1. Could be a disastrous corner if no driver gives an inch. Trying with the undercut goes Urko. It's not going to be enough. And he's going to have to stay behind for the moment. Long Life Machine is going to have to stay for right now, but absolute train of cars you can see just behind. John Downey now finding himself behind his teammate and being absolutely hounded by the top 3 from last race, Nodovan, Beaver, and Simply Steve. And this is looking dicey indeed. They're on board with John Downey right now. He is looking at the front 2 spots just in front. He's got a little bit of a damaged machine as he's rubbed the wall one too many times, trying to get around. Now, we did ask Simply Steve just before this race began if it was faster, or better, I should say, to stay safe and avoid the walls, to go as quick as you can. And like he said, you don't want to go as quick as you can and end up hitting a wall, which is exactly what John Downey did. Now, it looks like since he has been caught by the leaders who are currently in front of him, he has been taking it a little bit calmer, a little bit slower through the corners, and allowing himself some more breathing room, which is going to pay dividends in the long term as Nodovan sends it down the inside. A little bit too much, hits the outside wall. Downey comes back. They're still side by side. Beaver's looking for a way through as well. Ooh, not a whole lot of room. Both of them touch. And someone, Simply Steve, just flings it into the inside. Absolutely behind pit wall. Eat My Dust, his teammate, coming in as well. Those 2 drivers, their team wanting to pit as early as possible. Just under 10 minutes out of 40 completed. And what happened there? Oh my god, the hits keep coming. Driver's going to have to really watch out here, as AJ is still parked the wrong way around. The track is free now, and he is able to get back going. But what just transpired? So we'll go back just ever so quickly. There we go. Just a little bit too much from Nodovan in front. And fangs it into the outside wall. Bounces back out massively off of those tire barricades. Beaver is lucky enough to avoid, but no dice for Dylan. And somehow AJ with a very, very similar mistake. Just wrong place, wrong time for him. As we've got a battle for the lead once again. Urko and Wallace heading to turn 1. Wallace still staying in front of Urko. And it has to be said from a driver's perspective, Urko is going to be feeling a little bit of his patience wearing out slowly but surely as he continues looking at the rear end of Wallace just ahead. That 666 machine doing a great job so far of absolutely keeping Urko behind. And they're going to have to really be careful, because Not too far behind, sitting about 2 seconds, is Beaver, the winner of last race this morning. I say this morning in sim time. In reality, it was only a few minutes ago. As this race continues to heat up. But Long Beach has taken away as much as it has given here, especially in this second event. Now if we look at our pit strategy map right there, you can see Captain CK brought it in very, very early, and that is because he had some damage on the rear of that car. But Simply Steve and Eat My Dust both came down pit road quite early on. That looked like neither of them had too much damage, so I believe that was a scheduled stop for them. I have to pay close attention to just how long Wallace, Urko, and Beaver can keep this up. The front 3 spots, as Beaver has closed the gap quite spectacularly at this point. Beaver looked like he was almost heading into the wall. Urko comes down pit road, wants to get out of Wallace, out from behind Wallace. Not wanting to get and stay behind him for any longer than he absolutely has to. Trying a bit of an undercut. Wallace heading into Fountain Corner, doing a great job. Beaver's not too far behind. Is closing the gap ever so slowly. Urko finally makes his way out of the pits. He's going to exit behind Simply Steve, though. But in front of Eat My Dust. Now, that could have been a bad exit, and oh, what happened there? Eat My Dust. Just way too overzealous. Desperate to do something different. I think he was just desperate to get in front of Urko as Urko was heading out of the pits and just went in a bit too hard. Wallace is in. Beaver is in. Far South taking over the lead. Far South, Dylan, Captain CK now in the 3rd position. Interesting to watch Captain CK. Now, I can't imagine there is any way that Captain CK can stay out for the remainder of the race. I thoroughly believe that he's going to have to pit one more time, which is certainly not something he wants to do, but he's going to have to, I believe, to make it to the end. Currently sitting in the 3rd position. Black Bob Wallace just in front of Nick Beaver. Still continuing to sit in front of Beaver. Urko not too far behind these two as they battle for what could potentially be the lead once everything cycles through. Adam Hedwood letting us know it's the worst car track convo on a fixed setup. Tube server cheering on Urko as well. And Adam Henwood, I must agree with you that not exactly the most friendly, having fixed setups at Long Beach, but even if you have open setups, Long Beach itself is just not the most friendly of tracks historically, as is proven time and time again by iRacing. As well as in the real world, I believe that the last, even though they don't race with them anymore, I believe that the LMP3s, the last time they were involved in a multi-class race for the World Endurance Championship, they were absolutely excluded or disallowed from making it to Long Beach in real life because they were seen as too much of a nuisance compared to some of the other drivers in multi-class. Obviously, the LMP3 machines were a bit more of an amateur class than the professional ones back in the day, but still, that's a pretty harsh thing to find out as a driver. Captain CK has set off the fastest lap of the race with 1:16.7, the only driver to crack a 1:16 since we have been in this particular race. Beaver still on the back bumper of Wallace. Ooh, Wallace tapping the outside barricade just a tiny bit. Beaver's trying to make a lunge on that outside line, allowing plenty of room, and gets it done on the outside. Great job for Nick Beaver. North South still leading the way. Now drivers yet to pit, the only two, Bar South and Dylan, in the first and second positions. Captain CK pit on lap 1. So he will almost certainly have to come down again. And look at this battle shaping up for the 4th position. Beaver's trying to get away from Wallace. Urko's catching up to the two of them. And Nodovan, although he is a lap down, right in the mix with these guys. And we know he has pace. It's always a tricky situation to be in when you're in Nodovan's position, because you know that you might be able to be a little bit faster, maybe even contend with positions for these guys. But you are a lap down, and so if you get in their way, it's a bit of a faux pas. So it's definitely one of those things that you've got to be mindful of. Urko almost rubbing that outside wall, followed up by Nodovan almost rubbing the outside wall of the following corner. But these two definitely the closest battle on track, just about 4/10 between the two of them, Wallace and Urko. I'm gonna say I haven't seen anyone else send it as hard as Urko has into the hairpin, and that time by it did cost him a little bit, as he was unable to get the exit he wanted to, and Wallace drove away, gathering an extra couple of tenths over Urko, as Urko's going to have to find his way to work back up. We're just over halfway in the second event of tonight's race. Second race of tonight's event, I should say. That sounds a lot better. And considering he has the fastest lap, let's have a quick. It looks like Eat My Dust has crashed. What has happened there? Showing up as having a bit of an incident, getting the inside curbing on turn 1. These cars definitely do not like that inside curbing. We also had an incident with Simply Steve just a little bit before that as well. A quick look at that one. Showing up as an incident, just backing down, allowing other drivers to get through the field unscathed. So nothing too untoward there. Paper Bag went off track. That's something I don't think I've ever seen before. Oh, and that's why. And showing displeasure was Paper Bag at that particular incident. And I'll be honest, I cannot exactly blame him. Supposed to be impartial up here in the booth. Not doing a great job with that, am I? As Paper Bag having involved in another crash that has just popped up as of literally right now. Take a very quick look at that one. It doesn't look like any other car was involved, and I almost have to assume if it was the same incident as a lot of the other machines out on track. No! Not actually involved in an accident, just stopping on track, which has triggered our timing software as it does so do from time to time. Just missing his braking point and driving a little bit too deep. So we've just hit the 23-minute mark. Bar South yet to come down pit road. Dylan just behind, also yet to come down pit road. See Dylan pop into the back of shot just there, as he is about 3.7 seconds behind Bar South. And who would have thought Bar South with an actual nose cone on the car in front seems to be doing a pretty solid job. Now we expect him to come down either this lap or in the next couple, and he does not, neither does Dylan. They stay out at least one more time. Little bit sideways is Bar South, and look at Dylan closing the gap quite quickly. Quite quickly indeed, down to just 2.3 seconds now. Ooh, and that's not going to help his cause. And Dylan hitting that outside tyre barrier. As I was saying, that corner, not exactly the nicest to a lot of these drivers. And what happened there? Dylan absolutely missing the braking point, just went straight on. And that's cost him a huge amount of time and a position to Captain CK. He's going to feel that one. He comes down pit road. He's going to service his stop this lap. So Bar South currently retains the lead position. Captain CK in the second spot. Nick Beaver has just taken over third from Dylan, as Dylan is down pit road. Beaver sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.6. And he is on an absolute mission right now. Wallace and Urko aren't too far away from each other. That's Nodovan once again still involved in this little battle. see Urko getting into the shot just then. Nodovan is right on the back bumper of Wallace. Now Nodovan is still that lap down machine. But even so, I'm sure Wallace would still be feeling pressure. As Beaver once again sets the fastest lap of the race. Just a bit slower actually, as it confuses me up here in the booth. Just a tenth slower than his last time by. Might jump on board with Beaver as he makes his way through. South makes his way down pit road, so he's going to relinquish the lead to Captain CK. And he taps the outside wall just briefly. So Captain CK, the only driver that realistically will have to stop again. How long he can go is very much determined now. I think that he is going to come down this time by, if not next time. I can't imagine he's got much more fuel than that left in that machine. The real question is going to be where he comes out on track when he joins the field once again. And it looks like he is staying out one more time at least. And Captain CK with the fastest time. 1:16.59. 0.587 to be more accurate. You can just see how close these cars get to the outside walls. It's very, very scary, I must admit. Up here in the booth, I keep on thinking that they're going to hit the outside walls, and more often than not, they avoid them. CK looks like he slowed down just a little bit through that sector. Just trying to make sure that he does not damage the car. These LMP3 machines, not a massive amount of downforce regards, besides looking like they do. Not a massive amount of speed either. So he's going to stay out again for one more lap. Got just under 10 minutes to go left in this one. The field fairly stretched out right now. I believe the closest battle on track is Urko and Simply Steve for the fourth positions, as they are just under 2 seconds from each other. And it does look like Urko was catching Simply Steve just slightly there. using absolutely all of the available racetrack as Urko starts to close that gap to Simply Steve. Heard the sound of him slightly tapping the inside wall. It didn't look like the car got too much damage, if any. Just with maybe a minor scrape to the paint job on the vehicle. As Beaver responds with another fastest lap time. Not wanting his teammate to have any sort of glory. They 1:16.4. Captain CK continues to stay out at the front of this field. Urko, there it is. It is a brand new fastest lap for him. And he is closing that gap to Simply Steve. These two drivers not wanting to give each other any kind of room to breathe as Urko is catching ever so slowly. In comes Captain CK. Nick Beaver takes over the lead. Captain CK, where will he come out of pit road? He's coming out now. Black Bob Wallace is going to be able to take over the second place spot. Where is Simply Steve? Where is Urko? There they are. Captain CK is just going to be able to slot in before them. So CK manages to plant himself into the third position right now. Simply Steve is not going to be enjoying seeing that one. Couple more incidents to report. John Downey showing us had a bit of an incident. And remember, he led the early goings of this race. Oh! And that's a fairly hefty hit. Oh, and right in front, what happened there? That looked like Bar South. And it was. What happened to Bar South just in front? With a very similar incident. A little bit less impactful for him though. And then the two drivers decide to have a little bit of a stare down for each other. As they try and work out who goes where and what happens next. And I think that was Garlic Dog as well, just not quite sure where to go. Waiting for those two drivers to get back to grips with each other. It looks like Simply Steve, ever since Captain CK pulled out in front, has turned on the jets just a little bit harder and has pulled away from Urko by a couple of tenths the last lap. So we're going to have to pay close attention. Now, AJ just set a fastest lap for him. Wallace, I thought it just said he set the fastest lap of the race. That's where it looked like to me. Turns out it's actually Nick Beaver once again. Proving that he does not want to slow down, regardless of him having a second advantage over the rest of the field. Now, we have been watching this battle with Simply Steve and Urko. Not too far behind. Captain CK had an issue, and he is spinning, finding himself the wrong way around. Simply Steve, all of a sudden, he sees third, and he likes it. Eat My Dust also having an issue. What is happening? Captain CK, Long Beach, is just chewing him up and spitting him out. And it's the same corner. That same right-hander just cops a little bit too much curbing on that right rear in the perfect position. Spins it around. Tries to get back on track. And I think everything was fine. But then what happened to Eat My Dust? It's a completely different section. Missing his rear wing, as we have seen a couple times. He's come past the screen. And that's going to mean he has absolutely zero downforce in the rear end. And certainly not helping his case just then. As he does not collect anyone else, and we keep on going with this race. Less than 3 laps to go. Where is Nick Beaver on the circuit? He comes down the back stretch. So now I'm wondering if we have 2 laps to go or 1. As we've seen 1:16 lap time, so I believe we'll have 2 laps to go this time by. And Urko has closed the gap to within a second once more. As these two are now heading under the Firestone walkway. Maybe a specific name for that. I have simply forgotten it, as Urko with a very nice, it must say. Very nice hairpin right there. Looked very clean to me, but it doesn't seem like it's gained him a whole heap of time on Steve just ahead. So Simply Steve continues to hold on to that 3rd place position. John Downey down pit road. After showing us having yet another incident. It has not been John Downey's night. We've seen him up at the front of the field. Oh, just too hard on the brakes. Car spins around. The hood flies off. iRacing Gods give it back to him. That thing does not look like it is controlling very well. And he has taken it down pit road for a quick fix. He's on his way back out. Quite impressive. As Urko, during that replay, has closed the gap massively once again. He sees the top 3 in his sights. There's 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Rising Peaks Coffee. And Urko is all over the back bumper of Simply Steve. Urko down to less than half a second now. He is turning on those afterburners. Trying desperately to put the power down any which way he can. Simply Steve trying to hold him off to the very end. Simply Steve gets a little bit of the inside wall, but it's okay. It's not too much. Tries to defend the very much inside, not wanting to provide any sort of downforce not downforce, any sort of draft or advantage to Urko behind. Beaver's taken the checkered flag. Wallace is going to come in second, but who's going to get that 3rd place spot? It's going to be Simply Steve with the run out of the hairpin. Urko chasing down hard, but not quite hard enough. Joshua letting us know Long Beach is a really cool track, but the car was destroyed. And that is absolutely not what we want to hear. That's very unfortunate. And Long Beach, look, it is fun, but it's also horrific at the same time. Beaver was very open-minded about saying that one. But there you have it. Nick Beaver, your race winner for twice in a row, just edging out Donovan on the first race and winning the second one with a little bit more room in the bank over Wallace behind. He gets his car stopped on the start-finish line. Nice stopping. A little bit of a bump there, but did stop quite well. As we get ready to have some interviews up here in the booth, we'll bring up your race results quite officially. Nick Beaver winning the race, Black Bob Wallace in the second position, with Simply Steve heading out into your third spot. Urko and Captain CK rounding out the top 5. And there for driver interviews after we say Bar South, Dylan, Etmadust. Oh, I've done it, haven't I? Eat My Dust, AJ, and Nodovan rounding out the top 10. John Downey, Biker Pilot, Paper Bag, Garlic Dog, Joe Albanese, Prince Adam, Book, and Antonio Bianchi. They will be rounding out the rest of the grid here tonight. So, has been an absolute pleasure seeing you race, and we will see what kind of drivers, when we get the drivers into the waiting room, and see if we can have some interviews once again. We have Wallace and Beaver in the booth, and here we go. Simply Steve has just joined us, so we will look forward to talking to him. Simply Steve, welcome back to the booth. You must be thrilled to be here.
Yeah, if you would have asked me mid-race if I would have been here, I would have said there's not a chance.
Well, I tell you, it looked like things were not going to go your way all that well, as you said, and then things just kind of fell into place when I saw Captain CK, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of the spectators, when I saw Captain CK out in front of you, I thought that you weren't going to be able to catch up to him, but he had that issue, and all of a sudden you were right there.
Yeah, I mean, me and the guys in the chat were trying to figure out what to do, and I'm like, man, the car is toast. I could every time I turn right, there'd be a ton of oversteer. But we were like, well, it's better to just stay out and see what we can do. And it came to us. We had a little bit of fuel saving we had to do, and it was uh, yeah, not the ideal night, but all in all, a pretty great result.
Well, it looked like a great result, regardless of whether the night was all that good in the long run or not. I mean, at the end, that's pretty much where you wanted to be. I mean, that's a great finish for you. And I got to be honest, I was really excited watching that battle. I thought Urko might have something for you. And then it seemed like when you saw Captain CK have his issue, just put the power down and made sure that that third spot was yours.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely worried about Erico there at the end. He had a lot less damage than me, and so I was definitely concerned. But uh, yeah, but by the end, after that spin by Captain, which is super unfortunate, yeah, I just had enough fuel to go and did my best to hold it together. I could not push. The car did not like to be pushed after eating the wall. So.
All right. Well, Simply Steve, it was a fantastic recovery. Who would you like to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors. I know you've done it once tonight. Feel free to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give out the same shout outs, friends, family, guys in the chat. My teammate always for having some amount of strategy when I have pretty bad strategy. And I don't want to shout out the captain. I feel super bad because he had a really awesome race, making because he had to stop twice, and he really had some crazy pace. So I feel like I got to shout out to captain.
All right, well, ever humble in relative victory. Let's go with relative victory. Not quite victory, but third is pretty good. Definitely nothing to sneeze at. All right, Simply Steve, we will let you go. We look forward to seeing you in the future up here in the booth with us.
Yeah, hopefully can keep making it back here and with the car in slightly better shape.
All right, see you then. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, that was Simply Steve bringing it home in the third place spot. Up next, we have Black Bob Wallace bringing it home in the second position. Now, you got to tell me how that race was for you, because I tell you, that was an amazing race to watch the Zero Forks Given guys race around Long Beach.
I'll tell you what, it was, I think the best way to describe it is sweaty. Urko would not leave me alone the second race, but I had a blast driving through here.
Yeah, now I got to ask you very briefly if you were playing a bit of team tactics when Downey was in front, and it looked like you were almost checking up the rest of the field until he kept on hitting those walls, and unfortunately the car just gave up on him after some time.
I will neither confirm nor deny that there were team tactics involved.
That sounds like the most political answer ever, and I love it. All right, Bob. Well, we've got to give you your own commendations as well, though, because that was an amazing race. And you know what? It looked like even if you may have been holding up the rest of the field, as I said, I tell you what, you had your own pace, and no one can deny that. You held your own, and you stayed in third the whole time, even with everything else going around you. It just seemed like a really solid, clean race. And I don't know, you couldn't be prouder of yourself for that.
I came into this race today not expecting a whole bunch. My goal was to keep it clean, and as long as I could keep it clean, I think I would climb the ranks, and that's what ended up happening. So I feel really good about it.
Well, I mean, all I can say is that, yeah, I mean, I couldn't, I don't even know what to say anymore. But that that was a great race to watch. And um, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you pitted quite early. Yeah, I think you did, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I got some damage early on, and front and I think it was right side damage, and I wanted to get that taken care of because I could feel it in the car. So
Well, I tell you what, it seemed to pay off pretty damn well. So, that is absolutely awesome. But, Bob, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you up here in the booth, even if I've lost my words along the way. But who would you like to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors. Second place, ain't nothing to sneeze at.
first of all, I want to give a shout out to you guys. Thank you for putting this on. J2I for putting the whole lead together, and obviously my big team ZFG holding it down over here, and hopefully we've got many more podiums to come.
All right, sounds good, Bob. We will see you later. Have a good night, and who knows? We'll probably see you up in the booth shortly if we get another performance like that one.
Right on. I appreciate it, man.
All right, that was Black Bob Wallace bringing it home in the second position. Next up, our dual winner for both races, Nick, the man with the beaver. I probably should not say that the way I just did, but I can't I can't take it back now. Welcome to the booth, and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hot. I'm sore. I'm sweaty, but feeling good. That was a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
did not expect the kind of racing that it put out. That was great.
yeah. Well, we saw you involved in a heated battle between, well, let's say everyone, we might as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
as
right.
there was a battle from second on down to eighth. About half the field was almost involved in that, and it seemed like it was pretty incredible to watch it come through the big train of vehicles. But you managed to make it through pretty safe and sound. And I almost want to know that incident where you were on the inside of Donovan as he made that spin. I mean, you must have been just, I don't know, talk us through it. Were you nervous? Were you relieved that you weren't involved? I mean, all of the
Oh,
emotions at once.
yeah. So I wasn't actually paying attention to him at all, and in fact, I'm going to go back on the replay. So I was side by side with Bob here, not even in front of me, and I don't know if he was watching his mirror, seeing what everyone else was going to do. But yeah, he piled it into the barrier, and I just got on the brakes. But man, oh, that was so close. Yeah, and then everyone piling in behind too. So. Usually, sometimes I have an arca brake issue where, yeah, I'll slide past it, or sometimes I'll just drive right through it. But I got on the brakes this time and it worked. Ah, that was so close. And then, yeah, so there's Bob, AJ behind. So, woof, yeah. I
Nick,
didn't make a lot of.
you want
Yeah,
my
that
job
was
with
that was
those
spicy.
effects? Like,
Yeah.
that was-
But I mean, just head down, head to the grindstone after that, trying to catch the 3 in front of me, and ended up doing that, or the 2 in front of me at that point. But yeah, a lot of fun chasing people down, a lot of close racing, especially there at the beginning, the first 10 laps or so, when we were all nose to tail and in a big line. It was just so hard to initiate a pass because we've got that reverse grid, but everybody's got such similar pace, and it's really hard to make any moves. But it all worked out in the end, and then a little bit of undercut during the pit stops. This race had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it, and certainly Wallace was, or Blackboard Wallace, I should say, was keeping you busy behind the wheel as he was really checking up quite a few drivers. He wouldn't confirm or deny that, but I get a strong suspicion that
Yeah, he
yeah.
was just quick enough. And I commend him for that. It's good to see some variety in the podium. So props to Black Bob for getting the P2 there.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing we will talk about just before we let you go is your teammate, and what I just want to ask, without obviously going into too much detail, of what the
Aw.
what the driver radio was sounding like, or the team radio at that point in the race.
Yeah. Usually Captain's pretty quiet over the radio. He'll let us know if there's any if he made a mistake or anything, and I'm always keeping an eye on the relative for him too. So when I saw him drop down a little bit, sorry about the background noise. Goodness. Yeah, I feel so bad for him because there was a bit of a battle, but in the fastest lap between him and myself. So he absolutely has the pace. He's right there. Just put him in the right position and add some consistency to it, and he's absolutely a threat. He's got that podium pace, and he'll put it together. I'm excited to see what he can do.
As am I, and as we all are, I'm sure, when we are watching back these races, and in the J2I Cup Series as well, in both the sprint and endurance sections of this one. But before I let you go, Beaver, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Who would you like to shout out? Friends, sponsors, family, the floor is yours once again for the final time of the night.
Yeah, well, I found out that Hannah's watching, so hello, Hannah. Thank you so much for tuning in. The support means a lot. And then thank you, Gareth, and all of J2I. The league discussion is popping off. Everyone hates me. Why'd you choose Long Beach? I don't know. I thought it'd be fun, but clearly it wasn't for everyone, and I'm very sorry about that. So I accept the bullying. I understand. But again, hi, Hannah. Thank you. Gareth, thank you. And all of J2I. Thank you very much.
Well, definitely a choice. Let's put it that way. from, from Nick Beaver, and it's been great talking to you. So we'll see you up here, I'm sure, in due course. And it's been great talking to you once again. So we look forward to, where are we going next? We're going to Mosport. How are your chances there, do you think?
I love that track. The more elevation a track has, the better I think I do, and that track has a ton of it. So I'm very excited to see what that track can do for racing.
All right, I'm sure you've just made a bunch of enemies in J2I for saying
No.
that, but that is great to see. Love the optimism, and we might see you up in the booth again for one of those.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
You too, Nick. All right, that was Beaver that brought it home in the top spot tonight. We want to thank you all once again for joining us up here in the booth for the Just Two Idiots Cup Series Sprint Series race here at the two races, I should say, here at Long Beach. I have been Gareth McAllister, bringing you the broadcasting with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. I hope I have managed to pull off a successful broadcast, for lack of better words, as well as entertaining you as much as possible. Thank you very much for joining me up here in the booth. We expect to see you all in a couple of weeks for our next sprint series, and don't miss our next week, I believe, endurance series as well, as we head to a lot of different tracks with a lot of different cars, but the same exact fun shenanigans with the same people. So we see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a good night.